The great chamber of the Galactic Council sat in the heart of the Nexus Station, a massive structure that floated between 3 stars. Inside the chamber, representatives from 200 different species gathered around a circular platform. Some had scales, others had fur, and many had features no human mind could have imagined before joining the galactic community. The air hummed with translation devices that turned thousands of languages into understanding. Ambassador Sarah Chen walked to the center platform with steady steps. She wore a simple blue uniform with Earth's symbol on her shoulder. Her black hair was tied back and her face showed no emotion. Behind her stood 2 other humans, both in military dress uniforms. The council members watched with mild interest. Humans were still new to the galaxy, having joined only 200 years ago. Most species here had traveled the stars for thousands of years. Sarah pressed a button on her wrist device. A holographic document appeared in the air above her, large enough for everyone to see. The title glowed in bright letters that translated into every language at once. Members of the Galactic Council, Sarah began, her voice clear and strong. Humanity presents the Protected Species Doctrine. From this day forward, any species that enters into a formal alliance with humanity will be under our protection. Any attack on our allies will be considered an attack on humanity itself. We will respond with full military force. A ripple of sound moved through the chamber. Some species chittered with amusement. Others made sounds that their translators turned into laughter. In the upper gallery, the Zevrathi delegation sat in their massive chairs. The Zevrathi looked like walking reptiles covered in dark red scales and standing nearly 3 meters tall. Their empire controlled 40 star systems and commanded one of the largest military fleets in the galaxy. High Commander Thralzek of the Zevrathi leaned forward. His voice boomed across the chamber. The human speaks of military force. How amusing. Your species has been in space for merely 2 centuries. My people have conquered worlds for 10,000 years. You have what, 300 warships? My fleet numbers 3,000. Sarah turned to face him. Her expression did not change. We have enough. More laughter filled the room. The Krillian ambassador, a floating creature made of light and gas, spoke through its translator. Young human, we appreciate your enthusiasm, but you must understand the reality of galactic politics. Protection requires power. Your species is still learning to walk among the stars. We learned to walk a long time ago, Sarah replied. We also learned to fight. We are very good at fighting. An elderly Salvaran delegate, resembling a large beetle with wise eyes, clicked its mandibles thoughtfully. We mean no disrespect, Ambassador Chen, but empty threats serve no purpose. What your species proposes is unprecedented. You wish to protect others when you can barely protect yourselves. Sarah pulled up another hologram. It showed a list of species. These are civilizations that have expressed interest in human alliance. The Kelvari Confederation, the Prelon Collective, the Mira Clusters. They are peaceful traders and explorers. They have no large armies. They are often raided by more aggressive species. We offer them something simple, friendship and protection. And what do they offer you? Thralzek asked, his tone mocking. Access to their markets? Their technology? This sounds like protection money dressed in pretty words. They offer us friendship, Sarah said simply. That is enough. The Zevrathi commander stood to his full height. Then let me be clear, human. The Kelvari have resources in systems we claim. If they ally with you, they become our enemies. Will you truly go to war over a species you barely know? Sarah looked directly at him. Yes, the room fell silent. It was rare for such a direct challenge to be issued in the council. The Zevrathi were powerful, and few species dared to oppose them openly. You are foolish, Thralzek said. But you are young. You will learn. Sarah tapped her device again. The hologram changed to show a treaty document. The Kelvari Confederation has already signed an alliance with humanity. As of 3 days ago, they are under our protection. We are informing the council as a courtesy. The reaction was immediate. Dozens of species began talking at once. The chamber filled with sounds of surprise, concern, and in some cases approval. The Kelvari were well liked in the galaxy. They were honest traders who never engaged in war. Many species had hoped someone would eventually stand up for them. Thralzek's eyes narrowed. You have made a mistake, human. A grave mistake. Perhaps, Sarah acknowledged. But it is our mistake to make. We are simply telling you the rules now before anyone gets hurt. Leave our allies alone. That is all we ask. And if we do not, Thralzek challenged, Sarah's expression finally changed. She smiled, but it was not a warm smile. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret. Then you will learn why Earth is classified as a death world. You will learn why humans survived when 99% of species from similar planets went extinct. You will learn what it means when a species spends 10,000 years perfecting warfare just to survive itself. She paused, letting her words sink in. We do not want war, Commander Thralzek. We truly do not. But if you force our hand, we will show you what mercy looks like when delivered by the unmerciful. We will show you what happens when you wake up a sleeping guardian. Thralzek laughed, but it sounded forced. Big words from a small species. Sarah gathered her documents. They are not just words, Commander. They are a promise. Harm our allies and you will answer to humanity. We will give you one warning. We will give you one chance to walk away. If you ignore both, what comes next is on you. She bowed slightly to the council. Thank you for your time. As the human delegation left the chamber, conversations erupted everywhere. Some species were excited by humanity's boldness. Others thought the humans had signed their own death warrant. The Zevrathi delegation sat in silence, watching the humans leave. Thralzek turned to his second-in-command. These mammals need to be taught respect. Prepare the fleet. We will teach them what power really means. Far across the galaxy, on a peaceful Kelvari farming world, families continued their daily lives, unaware that they had just become the center of a storm that would change the galaxy forever. 6 months had passed since Ambassador Chen's speech to the Galactic Council. The galaxy watched and waited, wondering if the humans would keep their promise. Trade between humanity and the Kelvari flourished. Human ships regularly visited Kelvari worlds, bringing technology and taking back exotic goods. The Kelvari were gentle beings, standing about 1.5 meters tall with soft blue fur and large eyes. They valued art, music, and peaceful commerce above all else. On the colony world of Pelshera, Kelvari families worked in vast agricultural fields. The planet was famous for producing a grain that grew nowhere else in the galaxy. 3 major settlements dotted the main continent, each home to about 17,000 Kelvari. The morning sun rose over the eastern settlement of Mirvakel, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold. Farmer Kelvin stood in his field, checking the ripening crops. His daughter played nearby, singing a traditional Kelvari song about the harvest. It was a perfect morning, peaceful and warm. Then the sky changed. Dark shapes appeared above the atmosphere. They grew larger, descending rapidly. Kelvan's datapad began screaming warnings. His blood went cold as he read the identification codes. Zevrathi warships. 12 of them, inside now! He shouted to his daughter. They ran toward their home, but they were too late. The first beam struck the center of Mirvakel. The energy weapon was designed for destroying military bunkers, but the Zevrathi aimed it at civilian buildings. The settlement's central plaza vanished in a flash of white light. The shockwave followed seconds later, knocking Kelvan and his daughter to the ground. All across Pelshara, the same horror unfolded. The Zevrathi systematically destroyed all 3 settlements. They took their time, making sure their weapons caused maximum damage. They wanted everyone in the galaxy to see this. They broadcast the attack on open channels, ensuring every species with a receiver could watch. Within 2 hours, it was over. 50,000 Kelvari civilians were dead. The settlements were smoking craters. The Zevrathi ships hung in orbit for another hour, as if daring anyone to respond. Then they transmitted a message to the human embassy on Nexus Station. We have disciplined your allies for their disrespect. They chose the wrong friends. What will the mighty humans do about it? The message was signed by High Commander Thralzek himself. The response from Earth came 18 hours later. It was brief, only 1 sentence transmitted directly to the Zevrathi homeworld and broadcast across every major communication channel in the galaxy. Evacuate your frontier worlds. You have 72 hours, that was all. No threats, no demands, no explanation. Just a simple warning. The Zevrathi High Council met in emergency session. Some members argued for caution. The humans had warned them after all, but Thralzek convinced them otherwise. They are bluffing, he insisted. Look at the numbers. We have 3,000 warships. They have 300. We have controlled 40 systems for 1,000 years. They have 20 systems they have held for 2 centuries. This is psychological warfare. They want us to fear them, but there is nothing to fear. The council agreed. Instead of evacuating, they mobilized their fleet. Every available warship was called to active duty. They positioned forces around their most important worlds. If the humans wanted war, the Zevrathi would give them one they would never forget. Meanwhile, human ships arrived at Pelshara. They were not warships, but medical vessels and transport carriers. Human doctors and rescue workers descended to the shattered settlements. They searched through rubble for survivors. They found Kelvan and his daughter in their collapsed home. Both were badly injured but alive. A human medic, a woman named Dr. Sarah Okonkwo, treated them herself. "You are safe now," she said softly in perfect Kelvari. "We will take care of you." "But the Zevrathi," Kelvan whispered. "They are too strong. Humanity cannot fight them." Dr. Okonkwo's face hardened. "You let us worry about the Zevrathi. You just focus on healing." Every survivor was evacuated within 36 hours. Human ships carried them to safer Kelvari worlds. Medical teams worked around the clock. Not a single injured Kelvari was left behind. On Nexus Station, the Galactic Council held another emergency session. Species from across the galaxy demanded to know what humanity would do. Many feared a war that could spread across multiple sectors. Others hoped the humans would back down and avoid bloodshed. Ambassador Chen stood before them again. She looked tired. Dark circles showed under her eyes, but her voice was steady. "The Zevrathi have killed 50,000 innocent civilians. They did this to mock us, to test us, to see if our words meant anything." She paused. "In 48 hours, they will have their answer." "Ambassador, please reconsider," the Salvaran delegate pleaded. "War on this scale could destabilize the entire region. Surely there is a diplomatic solution." "There was a diplomatic solution," Chen replied. "We offered it 6 months ago. We told everyone the rules. The Zevrathi chose to break them. Now they pay the price." Thralzek himself was present this time, attending via hologram. "You are truly going through with this madness? Your little fleet against the might of the Zevrathi Empire?" "Yes," Chen said simply. "Then you will be destroyed. Your species will learn a hard lesson about challenging your betters." Chen looked at him for a long moment. "Commander Thralzek, in the 72 hours we gave you, did you evacuate any of your frontier worlds?" "Of course not. We do not run from threats. Then the blood is on your hands, not ours. We gave you a chance. We always give one chance." She looked around the council chamber. "To everyone watching, remember this moment. Remember that humanity offered peace. Remember that we warned them. What happens next is not because we wanted war. It is because we will not tolerate those who murder innocents and mock justice." She ended the transmission. The galaxy held its breath. Betting markets opened on various worlds, with most odds favoring a Zevrathi victory. Some species began moving assets away from the conflict zone. Others prepared to offer aid to whoever needed it after the battle. In human space, something was happening. Ships were moving, though few could track them. Humanity's stealth technology was better than most species realized. Resources were being positioned. Codes were being transmitted. Military personnel were saying goodbye to their families. On Earth, in the Military Command Center, Fleet Admiral Marcus Cole reviewed the battle plan one final time. His staff worked around him with quiet efficiency. "All assets in position?" he asked. "Yes, sir," his second-in-command confirmed. "Waiting for your order." Cole looked at the clock. 23 hours until the deadline. He thought about the Kelvari families torn apart by Zevrathi weapons. He thought about the children who would never see their parents again. He thought about the message humanity needed to send. "Then we wait," he said. "We gave them 72 hours. We will honor that. But the moment the deadline passes, we show them what happens when you mistake patience for weakness." Across the galaxy, the 72 hours ticked down second by second, bringing the galaxy closer to a day it would never forget. The deadline passed at exactly midnight Galactic Standard Time. For 3 minutes, nothing happened. The Zevrathi fleet waited in defensive positions around their key worlds. Their sensors showed nothing unusual. High Commander Thralzek sat in his command ship surrounded by his officers. "The humans are cowards," he announced. "They made empty threats and now they hide. Send a message to the Council. Tell them the Zevrathi Empire does not bow to—" His words were cut off by alarms. Every ship in his fleet began screaming warnings at once. "Contact! Multiple contacts!" his sensor officer shouted. "They are everywhere." "How are they everywhere?" On the screens, human ships appeared as if from nowhere. They had been there all along, hidden by stealth technology far beyond what the galaxy thought possible. But these were not the 300 ships the Zevrathi expected. These were not even conventional warships. Admiral Cole watched from his command center on Earth. The holographic display showed the entire battlefield across 6 Zevrathi systems. All units weapons-free. Remember the rules of engagement. Military targets only. Give civilians time to evacuate. No exceptions. The human attack began with a weapon the galaxy had never seen before. From high orbit, human ships dropped what looked like simple metal rods. They were 20 meters long and made of tungsten, one of the hardest metals. They had no engines, no warheads, no explosives. They simply fell, but they fell from very high up and they fell very fast. The first rod hit the Zevrathi military complex on the planet Zevrath Prime. It was moving at several kilometers per second when it struck. The kinetic energy was equivalent to a small nuclear weapon. The military base vanished in a crater 500 meters wide. The shockwave shattered windows 50 kilometers away. 30 seconds later, 9 more rods fell on 9 more military targets across the planet. Shipyards, command bunkers, weapons factories. All were destroyed in minutes. Civilian evacuation zones established, reported Cole's tactical officer. Drones are broadcasting warnings in Zevrathi language. All civilians have clear paths to shelters. Good. Continue the operation. In space, the Zevrathi fleet tried to respond, but the human ships were not fighting like any enemy they had faced before. Small drones, thousands of them, swarmed around the Zevrathi warships. Each drone was barely 2 meters across, moved incredibly fast, and carried a single powerful explosive. The drones did not attack randomly. They targeted specific systems on each ship. Weapons arrays, engine cores, shield generators. They struck with surgical precision. Captain Vrelzak commanded a Zevrathi destroyer. He watched in horror as drones took apart his ship piece by piece. "Fire all weapons! Kill these insects!" His crew tried, but the drones moved in patterns that confused targeting computers. They worked together like a school of fish, each one covering the others. When his crew finally destroyed one drone, 10 more took its place. His weapon systems died first, then his shields, then his engines. Within 5 minutes, his destroyer was floating dead in space, intact but completely helpless. He looked around and saw the same thing happening to every ship in his battle group. The humans were not destroying the Zevrathi fleet. They were disabling it. Ship by ship, the mighty Zevrathi armada was being taken apart like toys. "All ships, retreat," Thralzek ordered. But there was nowhere to retreat to. Human ships blocked every escape route. They had planned this perfectly, studying Zevrathi tactics for months, knowing exactly where every ship would be. On the planet Vecthar, home to a major Zevrathi military academy, the human approach was different but just as effective. Transport ships arrived in orbit and began broadcasting a message on all channels. "Attention, Vecthar civilians. This is the Human Defense Fleet. We are about to destroy military targets on your world. You have 2 hours to evacuate the marked zones. Shelters have been prepared. Follow the lighted paths. We will not begin our attack until all civilians are clear. You have our word." The Zevrathi military commanders on the ground were furious. "They are giving us time to prepare defenses. What kind of war is this?" But they also knew their families were in those evacuation zones. The humans were offering something impossible, a chance to save the innocent before destroying the guilty. The civilians evacuated. The humans waited exactly as promised. Then when the 2 hours were up, human dropships descended. But instead of soldiers, they deployed automated siege drones. These machines rolled through military facilities, destroying weapons and equipment but carefully avoiding any area that might have civilians. A Zevrathi general tried to make a last stand at the academy. He rallied his students, young soldiers barely trained. A human drone approached his position. Instead of attacking, it broadcast a message. "General Krathvar, we know you have 300 students with you, ages 16 to 20. We have no desire to kill children. Surrender now. Your students will be returned to their families unharmed. You will be detained until the war ends, then released. This is your only warning." Krathvar looked at his students. They were scared. They should be. This was not the glorious battle they had trained for. This was something else entirely. Something that made his blood run cold. The humans were offering mercy to an enemy who had shown none. He lowered his weapon. "Stand down. All units, stand down." Across 6 Zevrathi systems, the same scene played out. Military bases reduced to rubble. Warships floating dead in space. but civilian casualties were minimal. The humans broadcast evacuation warnings before every strike. They waited for people to reach safety. They gave soldiers chances to surrender. The battle lasted 4 days. When it ended, the Zevrathi military was shattered. Of their 3,000 warships, 2,800 were disabled. 200 had been destroyed when they refused to surrender and tried to ram human vessels. 40,000 Zevrathi military personnel were dead, but only because they chose to fight to the end. Civilian deaths numbered less than 500, mostly from accidents during evacuations. The humans had kept their promise. The human fleet, by contrast, lost 47 ships. Every single one was recovered and repairable. Human casualties numbered 1,200, and medical teams were already working to save the wounded. Admiral Cole surveyed the battlefield from his command center. Around him, his staff was exhausted but professional. They had just won a war most people thought was impossible. "Sir, we have a transmission request from High Commander Thralzek," his communications officer reported. "Put him through." Thralzek's face appeared on the screen. He looked 10 years older than he had 4 days ago. His scales were dull, his eyes haunted. Behind him, his command ship was dark, running on emergency power only. "You have won, human," he said quietly. "We surrender. We did not know. We did not understand." "You were warned," Cole replied, his voice hard but not cruel. "We told you exactly what would happen. You chose not to listen, I know. I carry that shame now. I sent my people to die against an enemy I did not understand. I thought you were weak because you spoke of mercy. I was wrong. You showed mercy even while destroying us. That is a strength I did not know existed." Cole leaned forward. "Commander, we are going to send medical ships to treat your wounded. We are going to help repair your civilian infrastructure. We are going to return your soldiers to their families. Do you know why?" Thralzek shook his head. "Because we meant what we said 6 months ago. We do not want to be your enemies. We never did. We just wanted you to leave our friends alone. This war did not need to happen. You made it happen. Remember that, and remember that we could have killed everyone on your worlds, but we chose not to. We are not monsters. We are protectors. There's a difference." Cole ended the transmission and turned to his crew. "All ships begin humanitarian operations. Medical aid, food supplies, repair drones. We broke their military. Now we help their people. That is the human way." Across the galaxy, billions watched the recordings of the battle. They saw the terrible efficiency of human weapons. They saw the careful mercy shown to civilians. They saw an empire brought low in 4 days by a species they had thought was weak. And they understood, finally, what Ambassador Chen had tried to tell them. Humans were not cruel, but they were absolutely unstoppable when defending those they had promised to protect. The galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. 1 week after the war ended, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. The chamber was more crowded than anyone had ever seen it. Representatives from species that had never bothered to attend before now filled every available space. Everyone wanted to hear what would happen next. The mood was tense and uncertain. Some species were terrified of humanity's military power. Others were calculating how they could benefit from allying with these surprising newcomers. A few were angry, feeling that the humans had upset the balance of power that had kept the galaxy stable for thousands of years. Ambassador Chen walked to the center platform once again. She looked composed and rested, though those who knew her well could see the weariness in her eyes. Behind her, Admiral Cole stood in full-dress uniform, his chest decorated with medals from Earth's long military history. The chamber fell silent as Chen prepared to speak. "Members of the Galactic Council," she began. "We are here to address what happened in Zevrathi space. I know many of you have questions and concerns. We will answer them all." The Krillian ambassador, the floating being of light, spoke first. "Ambassador Chen, your military displayed technology far beyond what we believed humans possessed. You hid your true capabilities from us. Many species feel deceived." Chen nodded. "We did not deceive anyone. We simply did not advertise our full military strength. No species shares all their secrets. But we were honest about our intentions. We said we would protect our allies. We kept that promise." A representative from the Morthak Dominion, a species that resembled upright wolves, growled a question. "You destroyed a major galactic power in 4 days. What stops you from conquering the rest of us?" The same thing that stopped us for the last 200 years, Chen replied. We do not want to conquer anyone. We never have. Look at our history. Look at the species we have contacted. We trade, we share knowledge, we make friends. We only fight when we must. Admiral Cole stepped forward. If I may add something, council members, that war was not easy for us. We lost 1,200 soldiers. Each one had a name, a family, a life. We remember them. We will always remember them. War is not something we celebrate. It is something we endure when there is no other choice. The Salveran elder clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. Yet you were so efficient, so precise. Your weapons, your tactics, they were devastating. How did a relatively young species develop such capabilities? Chen pulled up a holographic display. It showed Earth rotating slowly in space. This is our homeworld. It is classified as a Class 12 death world. Do you know what that means? Many in the council shook their heads. It means that 99% of species that evolved on similar planets went extinct before achieving space travel. Earth has super predators that hunt in packs. Diseases that killed millions. Weather that can destroy cities. Earthquakes, volcanoes, hurricanes. Our world tried to kill us in every way possible. She changed the image to show human history. To survive, we had to become very good at working together and very good at fighting. We spent 10,000 years perfecting warfare. Not because we loved it, but because we had to. We fought each other in countless wars. We developed weapons that could destroy our entire planet. We came very close to making ourselves extinct several times. The chamber was silent. Many species had never truly understood what a death world meant. But then we learned something, Chen continued. We learned that all that strength, all that ability to fight could be used differently. Instead of destroying each other, we could protect each other. Instead of making weapons to conquer, we could make weapons to defend. We chose to be guardians instead of conquerors. That choice defines us. High Commander Thralzek entered the chamber at that moment, escorted by human guards. He walked slowly, his head lowered in shame. Many council members gasped. They had not expected to see him alive, let alone free to attend the council. Chen gestured to him. Commander Thralzek has agreed to testify about the war. He has something important to say. Thralzek approached the center platform. He looked at the assembled species, then at Chen, then down at his hands. I stand before you as a lesson, he said, his voice heavy, a lesson in pride and foolishness. I thought humans were weak because they spoke of peace. I thought mercy was cowardice. I attacked their allies to prove my strength and mocked their promises. He paused, struggling with his words. The humans crushed my fleet. They disabled nearly 3,000 ships in 4 days. But they did something I never expected. They saved my people. Before every attack, they gave civilians time to evacuate. They warned us where they would strike. They gave our soldiers chances to surrender. They kept their word on everything, even when they did not have to. He looked directly at Chen. After the war, human medical ships came to our worlds. Human engineers helped repair our civilian infrastructure. Human diplomats negotiated fair terms for peace. They did not demand tribute. They did not demand territory. They only asked one thing, that we never again attack a species under their protection. Murmurs spread through the chamber. This was not how galactic conflicts usually ended. Victors typically took everything they could from the defeated. I celebrated when we killed those Kelvari civilians, Thralzek continued, and shame filled his voice. I thought it was justice. I thought it was strength. The humans showed me what real strength looks like. It looks like destroying your enemy's ability to fight, while preserving their ability to live. It looks like offering mercy when you could demand blood. I will carry this lesson for the rest of my life. He stepped back, his testimony complete. A representative from the Hive-born collective, a species of insectoid beings who shared a group mind, spoke next. Ambassador Chen, 17 species have requested formal alliances with humanity since the war ended. What are your intentions? Are you building an empire? We are building a network of friends, Chen replied. The Aegis Network is what we are calling it. Any species that wishes to join can do so. There are only 3 requirements. First, you must not attack other member species. Second, you must not engage in slavery, genocide, or crimes against innocents. Third, you must respect the sovereignty of others. That is all. And in return? The Hive-born asked. In return, you have our protection. Attack one of us and you attack all of us. Help one of us and we all help you. It is very simple, Admiral Cole added. We are also offering to share some of our defensive technology with allied species. Not weapons, but shields, sensors, medical advances. Things that help protect, not destroy. The chamber erupted in conversation. This was revolutionary. Most alliances were based on power and control. The humans were offering something different. Partnership based on mutual defense and shared values. A small voice cut through the noise. It came from the Kelvari delegate, an elderly female named Sharakel. She had survived the attack on Pelshara, though she lost most of her family. "May I speak?" she asked quietly. Chen bowed to her. "Of course, honored elder." Sharakel stood on shaking legs. "I saw humans arrive after the Zavrathi destroyed my world. I was buried in rubble, dying. A human doctor dug me out with her bare hands. She treated my wounds. She cried with me when I told her my family was gone. Then she looked at me and promised something. She promised that no one would hurt us like that again. She kept her promise. Tears ran down her blue fur. Humans did not have to help us. We are small. We are weak. We have nothing to offer them except friendship. But they defended us anyway because they said they would. That is all that matters. They keep their promises. How many species here can say the same?" The chamber fell silent. Her words carried more weight than any diplomat's speech. Chen spoke into that silence. "We do not want to be the galaxy's conquerors. We do not want to be feared. We want to be trusted. We want to be the friends you call when you need help. We want to be the species that keeps its promises. That is all we have ever wanted." She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of as many representatives as she could. "The Zavrathi tested us. They thought we were bluffing. We were not. Anyone else who harms our allies will face the same response. This is not a threat. This is simply the truth. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. We remember our friends, and we never ever forget those who harm innocents under our protection." The vote came hours later. The Galactic Council officially recognized humanity's protected species doctrine. The Aegis Network was acknowledged as a legitimate alliance. Humanity's position in galactic politics had changed forever. As the session ended, species began approaching Chen with alliance proposals. Some were sincere, others were calculating, but all of them now understood one simple truth. Humanity was no longer a minor player in galactic affairs. They were a major power, and they had earned that position through action, not words. The galaxy had a new guardian, and the galaxy would never be quite the same. 1 year had passed since the war with the Zavrathi. The galaxy looked different now, not in physical appearance but in the way species interacted with each other. Old patterns of aggression and exploitation had begun to shift. Fear of human retaliation was part of it, but something else was happening too. Hope was spreading. The Aegis Network had grown to 43 member species. Some were small trading civilizations like the Kelvari. Others were mid-sized powers who wanted protection from larger neighbors. A few were former aggressors who had reformed their ways after watching what happened to the Zavrathi. Each member species maintained their independence and sovereignty. The humans made no demands except that members follow the 3 simple rules: no attacking each other, no committing atrocities, and respecting others' freedom. On the joint colony world of New Harmony, human and Kelvari families lived side by side. The planet had been chosen carefully with a climate that suited both species. Human children played in the streets with Kelvari younglings. Schools taught in both languages. Markets sold food from Earth and the Kelvari homeworld. It was a symbol of what the Aegis Network could achieve. Not just military protection, but real friendship and cooperation. 10-year-old Emma Rodriguez chased her best friend Pictel through the marketplace. Pictel was a Kelvari child with bright blue fur and large, curious eyes. They had been friends since the colony was founded, barely remembering a time when their species did not live together. "Wait up," Emma called, laughing. "Your legs are shorter, but you are faster." "That is because I practice," Pictel replied, darting around a fruit stand. Above them, human patrol ships passed silently through the sky. They were always there, watching, protecting. The children barely noticed them anymore. They were just part of life, like the sun and the moons. Far above the planet, Captain Jennifer Walsh commanded the defense station that orbited New Harmony. Her crew was mixed with humans, Kelvari, and even 2 Zavrathi, who had volunteered to serve in the Aegis fleet. The Zavrathi integration had been controversial, but the humans insisted on it. Former enemies could become friends if given the chance. "Captain, we have an incoming ship," her sensor officer reported. "Unknown configuration. Not broadcasting any identification codes." Walsh's expression hardened. "Battle stations. Send a warning message." The ship ignored 3 warnings. It continued approaching the planet, accelerating. Walsh made a decision. Fire warnings shot across their path. If they do not respond, disable their engines. The station's weapons, designed by humans but built with help from a dozen allied species, fired precisely. The shot passed within 50 meters of the unknown ship's bow. The ship immediately stopped and began broadcasting a distress signal. "They say their communication system was damaged," the sensor officer reported. "They are the Preln, requesting emergency landing permission." "Engine failure." Walsh relaxed slightly. "The Preln were members of the Aegis network. Grant permission. Send rescue ships, and remind them to fix their communications before traveling next time." The incident was minor, but it showed how things had changed. A year ago, an unknown ship approaching a colony world would have caused panic. Now there were protocols, responses, systems in place. The Aegis network was not just a military alliance. It was becoming a functioning community. On Earth, Ambassador Chen sat in a meeting with human government leaders. The topic was expansion of the Aegis network and the challenges that came with it. "We are becoming the police force of the galaxy," one leader argued. "That was not our goal. We wanted to protect our friends, not patrol the entire galaxy." Chen nodded. "I understand the concern, but we are not patrolling the entire galaxy. We are protecting 43 specific civilizations that asked for our help, and we are teaching them to protect themselves. Every member species receives training, technology, and support to build their own defenses. Our goal is to make ourselves unnecessary." "How long will that take?" another leader asked. "Generations, probably, but we are committed to it. And we are not alone anymore. The Zivrathi have sent engineers to help rebuild worlds they once threatened. The Salvoran provide diplomatic expertise. The Hiveborn share their agricultural technology. This is not just humanity protecting everyone. This is many species working together for mutual benefit." Admiral Cole, who had been promoted to Supreme Commander of Aegis Defense Forces, added his perspective. "We have also seen something interesting. Aggressive species are changing their behavior, not just from fear but from seeing better options. 3 major powers have reduced their military spending and increased trade because they saw the benefits. Peace is more profitable than war." "Who knew?" The leaders laughed, but Chen remained serious. "We must not become arrogant. The Zevrathi made that mistake. We won one war. That does not make us invincible. We must stay vigilant and keep improving." Her words proved prophetic sooner than expected. 3 months later, a new threat emerged. The Korthax sovereignty, an aggressive species from the Galactic East, attacked a small mining colony on the edge of Aegis space. The colony belonged to the Mira clusters, one of the smallest members of the network. The Korthax had calculated carefully. They thought the humans would not respond strongly to such a minor target. They were wrong. The human response was even swifter than the Zevrathi War. Within 6 hours, Aegis forces had arrived at the Korthax homeworld. But this time it was not just human ships. Kelvari cruisers flew alongside human destroyers. Salvaran diplomacy ships broadcast warnings. Even reformed Zevrathi vessels participated, eager to prove their new commitment to peace. The message to the Korthax was simple and clear. "You attacked our friends. Surrender now or face the consequences. This is your only warning." The Korthax leader, a being named Korthax the Eternal, made the same mistake Thralzek had made. He refused to take the warning seriously. "What will you do? Destroy us like you did the Zevrathi? I think not. You humans talk of mercy and protection. You will not massacre us." Admiral Cole's response was broadcast across the galaxy. "You are correct. We will not massacre you, but we will disable every military asset you have, arrest your war criminals, and place your species under temporary Aegis administration until you prove you can coexist peacefully. This process will take years. It will be humiliating. It will be thorough. And it starts now." The battle lasted 8 hours. The Korthax had a smaller fleet than the Zevrathi, but were more fanatical fighters. They refused to surrender, choosing to fight to the death. Aegis forces had no choice but to destroy ships that would not yield. When it was over, the Korthax military was gone. Their leaders were in custody. Their worlds were occupied not by human forces alone, but by a coalition of Aegis species. The reconstruction of Korthak society took 3 years. Aegis administrators helped them rebuild their economy, reform their government, and learn to trade instead of raid. It was hard work, often frustrating, but eventually successful. Today, the Korthak sovereignty is a peaceful member of the Aegis network, though they still struggle with their aggressive past. Back on New Harmony, 5 years after the colony's founding, Emma and Pictel graduated from school together. They were both 18 now, making decisions about their futures. Emma had been accepted to the Aegis Naval Academy. Pictel was going to study medicine. "You are going to be a soldier?" Pictel asked, concerned. "I thought you wanted to be a teacher." Emma smiled. "I did, but I have been thinking about what Captain Walsh said when she visited our school. She said the best way to prevent war is to be prepared for it. I want to protect places like New Harmony. I want to make sure what happened to your people on Pelshara never happens again." Pictel hugged her friend. "Then you will be the best protector in the fleet. But promise me you will be careful. Promise me you will come home." "I promise," Emma said. "That is what humans do. We keep our promises." On Nexus Station, Ambassador Chen addressed the Galactic Council one more time. She was older now, gray showing in her hair. But her voice was still strong, her purpose still clear. "5 years ago we told you we would protect our allies. We have kept that promise. We have fought 2 wars, rebuilt 3 civilizations, and welcomed dozens of species into our network. But I want to be very clear about something." She paused, looking at each representative. "We do not want to be your warriors forever. We want to be your friends, your partners, your neighbors. We want a galaxy where the Aegis network becomes unnecessary because everyone chooses peace over violence. That is our true goal. That is why we fight. Not to dominate, but to create a future where fighting is not needed." New species continued to join the Aegis network. Old enemies became new friends. Trade flourished. Scientific cooperation led to discoveries that benefited everyone. The galaxy was not perfect. There were still conflicts, still problems, still species that chose aggression over cooperation. But slowly, steadily, things were improving. On New Harmony, Emma walked through the marketplace one last time before leaving for the academy. She saw human and Kelvari families shopping together. She heard children speaking both languages, switching between them effortlessly. She saw Zevrathi merchants selling goods peacefully alongside everyone else. She saw the future her species had promised to protect. Above, patrol ships passed by silently. Human, Kelvari, Salvoran, and others, all working together, all watching over the people below, all keeping the promise that humanity had made 5 years ago. A small Kelvari child approached Emma shyly. "Are you really going to be a soldier?" the child asked. Emma knelt down to the child's level. "I am going to be a guardian. Do you know what that means?" The child shook their head. "It means I will watch over people like you. I will make sure you can play safely, go to school, grow up without fear. That is what guardians do. We protect those who cannot protect themselves." "Like the humans protected us from the Zevrathi?" the child asked. "Exactly like that," Emma confirmed. "We remember our friends. We honor our promises. And we never ever forget those who need our protection. That is the human way. That is the Aegis way." The child smiled and ran back to their parents. Emma watched them go, then looked up at the sky where the patrol ships flew their endless routes. She thought about Ambassador Chen's first speech, the one that started everything, the promise that seemed impossible, the promise that changed the galaxy. Harm an ally, answer to human vengeance, but also befriend humanity, gain eternal guardians. Both promises kept, both truths proven, and the galaxy was better for it. Emma smiled and began her journey to the stars, ready to keep the promise for the next generation.